Thank you. So today we have Richard from AuditBoard. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm really glad that we were able to schedule this conversation. Um, can we start with first introducing yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been a really exciting week here at RSA, discussing a lot of really interesting and challenging problems in our space. And I've enjoyed talking to you to know how you guys are approaching those problems as well. So appreciate the invitation to speak with you some more. My name is Richard Marcus. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at AuditBoard. We're an enterprise SaaS solution for audit, risk, and compliance professionals. We're really trying to be a category-defining product to elevate the profession, bring technology to bear, to really help us get better collectively at understanding and managing the risks within our organizations.
Yeah, and that's very important to what I would like to discuss with you today. How do you see the challenges of the current GRC profession? Because we know that we are dealing with global businesses, global regulations. We're dealing with, on the security side, with a lot of challenges there. So how should we think about the challenges with the GRC and how we can meet those challenges?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's no dancing around it. Our job is getting harder.
Yeah.
A lot of us are here at this conference because we're looking for answers. We're looking for solutions at how we, deal with some of these emerging challenges in a better way. So, we've come to refer to this as the risk resiliency gap. The rate of business transformation, the rate of technical transformation, explosions of scale, more data than ever, more assets than ever, more users than ever, the rate of regulatory change, right? There's just an emerging problem space, an evolving risk landscape that is accelerating and changing faster than risk teams can really keep their arms around.
Yes.
And so we do the best we can. We try to prioritize and we try to identify and manage the risks that are maybe the most existentially impactful to our business, but we leave a lot of ground uncovered, right? We have to make trade-offs. Maybe we don't assess as deep, or we don't get the coverage that we want, or we don't come back and assess as often as we like. And so that creates gaps in our risk awareness and our ability to manage that risk in our organizations. So, there's a lot of leaders here at this conference that are trying to figure out, how do I shrink that gap or close that gap down without spending a ton of money that I don't have in my budget, or hiring an army of analysts that I don't have.
Right.
And so technology is really one of the only ways, like forward-thinking GRC leaders are looking to make their teams more efficient, be a force multiplier in their team, so they can cover more ground and get more done with less.
Yeah.
So various kinds of emerging technology, I think something that a lot of GRC leaders are looking to, and then also maybe creative process to increase collaboration and spread the work around in their organizations a little bit better. But it's all about connected risks, right? Can we bring technology to bear to connect people and connect data, work smarter, faster? And can we bring the people together to make the job easier for GRC professionals, or kind of the promising strategies that we're seeing?
It's actually interesting you're talking about the risk, because there is the risk that we know of, and we rate it higher. Obviously, the focus is over there. Right. But to your point, if you have limited resources, then some things you either don't know or you don't completely understand, and that creates implicit risk acceptance within the organization. Correct. That the governance of the organization, the executive team, is not aware of. And if we can bring technology to bear, that'll be helpful if we can cover more ground. The other point that you're making, I really like, is how do we spread the work around? Right. GRC team is not just kind of a castle that we're doing everything. How we can leverage the rest of the organization without creating too much more work for that.
Yeah, working in this space, you see a lot of pretty dashboards.
Yes.
That try to capture the situation, the risk landscape in a business. And I love saying, risk is going down, or of all that we've assessed, this portion is green, this portion is red. But I want to see the chart that says, how much of your organization have you actually looked at?
Right. What is the coverage?
So we're 100% risk-free in the 2% of the business that we've looked at.
Yes.
Another 98%, who knows?
We don't know. Yeah.
But I think it's really, truly important that security, GRC, risk, audit, it's not a back office function, right? You've got to get out and get into the business and build connections and relationships in the business. So you can understand the business transformation that's occurring and try to skate to where the puck is going as a risk team, and help the business anticipate risks along the way, so that you're not reacting to something that I just found out we're getting into this new line of business in this new country we were totally unprepared for.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that is collaboration, right? Having the relationships with the business, and a way for them to engage with you to communicate when emerging risks are identified.
Yeah.
So there are technical ways to do that. There are discovery, but I think more importantly, it's about building a process that invites everyone in to participate, preferably people with, P&L responsibility and decision-making authority, so that they can engage you as a partner and seek your counsel when business objectives are changing, business is moving in new directions. There's an avenue for them to make you aware of that, communicate so that you can help them kind of think through the risks and inventory them and start to triage them against the other known knowns, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really important thing that, especially in large, complex organizations, it's tough to get right. But I think building a platform where we can all work together and get aligned on what those top risks are and stay in touch when those things are changing is incredibly important. If you don't have an automated process around that, a defined process that you can communicate to your stakeholders, you're going to get left behind because you're going to be late for recognizing when those emerging risks are.
Yeah. And you're touching on something really important, which is the integration within the organization, because kind of the wrong model to think about security is that this is our insurance policy if something goes wrong. Whereas if we look at the modern security, it could be a differentiating factor, right? And if you can integrate the processes and the technology with the rest of the organization, because the GRC tools of the old age were awesome for the GRC people, but nobody else in the organization wants to use them.
Right.
So it doesn't give you a lot of leverage. Whereas new tools that have emerged lately,
100%.
they are integrated with my workflow system, with my inventory system, with my security tools, and then I can leverage that information without having yet another tool to manage.
I think AI adoption is a really interesting example. It's topical, it's top of mind, everyone's talking about it. And it's clear to me that every team in every enterprise right now is sprinting to figure out how can we bring Gen AI capabilities into the process to make my team more efficient and more productive.
Yeah.
It's not always clear to the security team, what's the strategy, what tools are we using, right? They're trying to piece this together secondhand, but it's clear as day to anyone who's paying attention that it's not going away, it's not a fad. And so security teams and GRC teams need to kind of have their eyes and ears open so they can help kind of guide their organizations to the secure usage of these emerging technologies. Right?
So how do you think, because there is a balance in this, the company can lag behind if they're not using AI,
right?
But then at the same time, they may not be ready for the AI usage. So sprint too fast forward.
Correct.
So there is an interesting balance here. And there is also the question about assistant, AI assistant versus AI agent. Right. And how do we look at the risk of using and not using AI?
Yeah. So, I think about a few different categories of AI usage. Generally speaking, everybody who is curious about technology wants to get their hands on the latest shiny toys and start experimenting and tinkering. So general purpose, LLM or Gen AI usage across the organization is something we're anticipating. Every vendor is now shipping product with either agentic AI or AI enhanced assistant capabilities. And then a lot of organizations are building either their own internal models or they're building AI capabilities into their own products. And so I kind of think about each of those differently. And if I can use AuditBoard as sort of an example here, we started building AI capabilities into our products 18 months, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And clear as day to us, even, though we serve a very security sensitive, security conscious market space, just an incredible amount of interest and demand for those capabilities, right? It's obvious to our customers what opportunity lay in front of us if we can reduce manual effort, reduce toil, elevate the position, elevate the role of the risk analysts, using some of these capabilities, but they have concerns, right? How do I, in my organization, it might be my role to ensure that the rest of the company is using AI securely. I've got to take my own medicine there too. I can't just bring AuditBoard in and trust that all of your AI capabilities are sound or secure.
Yeah.
So how do I evaluate them, right? It's the question that got reflected back to us. And then if I can evaluate it for AuditBoard, then I can do that for all the products.
The AI tools, yeah.
So we launched this week a new solution in our product. It's an AI governance solution. And really what it seeks to do is help organizations identify and then inventory all of the AI use cases that they might be exploring or using in their organizations.
To your point earlier, let's figure out the scope first.
Sure.
Then,
Let's assess the landscape first. You can't manage what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So it's an identification and discovery process first and foremost. So what models do you use? What tools and functionality are you using? What are the use cases? What are the data stores that you're giving access to the models, right? So inventorying kind of all the key components. And then once you have that, just like with any other asset or process that you might be assessing in your organizations, you can start to identify the risks with those things.
Right.
Which of these things are, represent existential risk to us as an organization, and which things can we afford to maybe let go by without too much.
Accept the risk there.
Sure. But what that allows you to do is develop control frameworks around those use cases. Sure, if you're going to use this technology, these are the things that we need you to keep in mind.
Put the guardrails.
Put the guardrails up, regularly test, continuously monitor that those remain over time. But the great thing that gives back to your organization is clear guidance and transparency around expectations around these tools. The output from all of this work is an acceptable use policy. These are the tools that are allowed. These are the use cases that are allowed. These are the sets that are allowed. This yellow space in the middle where we don't want to stifle innovation, right? As a forward-thinking security GRC leader, you want to broadcast to your organization that you're here to serve the business, and if they have a use case that's important and going to drive the business forward, you want to support and enable that.
Let's have a conversation.
So let's have a conversation. Tell me about it. I need you to answer these 4 or 5 questions so that I know how to think about the risk, and then I'll either come back and steer you towards maybe a more secure, approved solution for it, or I'll help you develop a new control framework around what you're doing, so that collectively we can have some comfort around the organization's adoption of some of these new emerging technologies. And it's a collaborative process. It involves the business, technology, legal, security, privacy, and the trick is to do it fast. Everybody's got shiny thing syndrome, right?
Yeah.
If you identify an opportunity and you don't move fast, you're going to miss it. So identify the use case, document it, quick review and approval, and then go to work. And if you don't have that kind of a process in place, people are going to circumvent your governance process. And they're going to go, you see rogue IT, shadow IT.
So. Yeah, we're talking about rogue AI already.
Absolutely. Yes. So the spirit of this solution is really, try to get comprehensive visibility, iterate quickly on review and feedback, and then let people go to work.
Do you leverage AI in the review process?
Sure. Yeah, we sure do.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the manual work that you're doing around mapping risks to controls, associated with AI and mapping the controls back to other compliance frameworks can use AI. So this is going back to our original topic of, how do you solve this risk resiliency gap? Trying to look for little ways to remove manual analysts, the stuff that we used to do as analysts manually, right?
Yeah. The mundane things that has to be done anyway.
So you can concentrate on the strategic value that you create.
Right.
But this would be a good example of that.
So obviously the AI, the more use of AI is going to change the way we interact within the organization. So maybe we'll start thinking about how the organizational structure in security is going to change, or how security or GRC interacts with the rest of the organization. So how do you envision those changes brought by more use of AI?
Sure. Well, I often think about the use of emerging technology in GRC as a tool in the battle for talent.
Right.
I don't know about you, but if you hire kind of recent college grads who are hungry and driven, smart people, and you ask them to audit something, sets a control, they might do it once, they might do it twice, and then they might say, yeah, I've done this a couple of times already. I'm ready for something different.
Right.
And so you're not going to retain good people for long if you're doing very manual, toilsome work.
Yes.
They're capable of doing much more strategically important things. So it's a tool that you can use to retain your best people by getting rid of some of the toil and manual work and then focusing them on the higher leverage, higher strategic things. You might say that, having some of these capabilities in place allow you to maybe hire lower skilled folks, maybe because some of the work is being done by AI. But I think I think about it a little bit differently. It allows more time and opportunity for people to grow, expand their skill set, figure out ways to help them
be more innovative. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of the business is concerned, there's always a problem of reach, right? How do we're a small team. We're trying not to be a back office function. We want to be everywhere the business is. And you want to try to maintain relationships with stakeholders and stay involved and engaged. And that's hard to do at scale, right? So technology can help you with that. We're seeing really interesting things in the area of like enterprise search, for example, where you can make content available, you can make guidelines and guidance available.
Provide advice.
Make that sort of first contact tier one experience
a
little bit more self-service. And then, where you've kind of knocked down some of the easy questions, now we can kind of get involved at the next level.
And continue educating the AI so it can grow with us.
Yeah. So AI is a great way to do that. We've seen a lot of other kind of workflow related things, scheduling reminders and follow-ups and automated evidence collection and continuous monitoring, and action, issue and action planning, feedback loops.
Yeah. That's where the agents start coming in. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So the AI enabled workflows can cover a lot more ground faster than a human can.
Right.
So whether it's like, reoccurring touch points, continuous monitoring, auditor might be able to come in and assess something once a year, once a quarter. AI can test it all day long.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's that really is the way that as a GRC leader, you can think about expanding your reach in terms of coverage and frequency in a way that human assessors just cannot.
And it's possible because, again, auditors are humans. They have limitations. It is possible that using AI also is going to increase the effectiveness of your control monitoring. It may discover things that the auditors otherwise will not be able.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I think we'll see over the next couple of years how useful AI can be in the control testing process.
Right.
There are things probably it will find the needle in the haystack that it would have taken a very long
almost
time.
like forensic audit to figure it out. Yeah.
Or a very, specific kind of person maybe.
Yeah.
But AI will certainly be able to leverage pattern recognition and find different kinds of needles in the haystack that humans may not have been able to detect, especially where you have large amounts of structured data.
Yep.
I think that's the kind of thing that AI can get very good at. And there's some things I think, that humans may be better at identifying, things that require more business context.
Right.
There's really an art behind some of that.
Yes.
I'm really curious to see whether AI can compete in those sort of maybe qualitative judgments the same way. But for quantitative, structured, reproducible type testing, like certainly there's a lot of space for AI to come in and help.
It's almost like a junior GRC analyst that is never tired, does the job all the time, and you can educate it, kind of bring them up clear. So one area that we're, I would say, struggling, and maybe that's the accurate word, I would like to hear your opinion, is the supply chain.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the automotive industry went through that probably in the 80s, early 90s, where they extended their supply chain tremendously and they were trying to figure out a way to manage it. Now it's hitting us. Now it's hitting the software business. It is a challenge. The regulators see it as a challenge and they want us to focus more on this one. So what are your thoughts? I mean, again, we have to automate. Is AI one of the answers? And if it is, how we're going to use it?
Well, I think this has been a very commonly said about AI. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Right. So in some sense, AI is part of the problem. It is one of the many types of supply chain partners that organizations have to think about. It's a new third party that I'm sharing data with that I wasn't before, right? So the number of supply chain components, third party partners is exploding, and AI is a contributor to that problem.
Right.
But it also is a solution, right? It is something that I think you look at the last 10 years, really last 20 years, right? So the cloud transformation, the SaaS revolution, the number of third-party partners that we use just growing exponentially.
Yeah.
And good reasons for that, right? The same reasons that companies are adopting AI now. There's tremendous benefits, productivity, scalability, great reasons to go use third-party partners. And I think we did that with reckless abandon for several decades, right?
Right.
And I think now security leaders are starting to look at this landscape that they have the responsibility for securing now and the rate at which sort of data has propagated outside of their visibility and control. They're going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's time to kind of reel this in a little bit, bring the horses back into the barn, and be thoughtful about the trade-offs. If I'm giving data to this third party,
where else does it go?
Yes, but also I'm getting some benefit from this. Is it worth the risk that I'm also exchanging for that gift? And I think our visibility now is getting better and better. There's a lot of tools, a lot of them AI enabled, that can help you visualize your supply chains in ways that you couldn't before and try to measure the size of that problem space.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are using AuditBoard to inventory vendors and assets and processes, start
doing correlations.
Start to build those relationship maps and understand where that risk lies. And they're realizing that, the percentage of that surface area that's really understood and controlled is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
So spending a lot of time kind of eliminating that area where they can. Maybe we don't need these vendors anymore, or the trade-off doesn't make sense. Let's pull those in. Or where those are vital relationships, maybe we have some key controls we need to put in place and make sure we're monitoring to ensure that those relationships stay productive over time.
Yeah. And this is actually an area where security can kind of step out of the insurance mold and provide more value, because yes, from a security perspective, we would like to optimize the portfolio of vendors, but guess what? Procurement also wants to optimize from a cost perspective. So we can team up with other parts of the company and work together to work out.
I think it's really fascinating. You see, a business impact or a risk assessment, and you find out there's multiple teams in the company all using the same dependency.
Right.
And maybe that dependency is maintained by one developer in some faraway country, and they haven't updated the dependency in 4 years. Did you have any idea that so many critical business functions come back to
this person?
And so, yes, a lot of it is a transparency issue, right? Like, so just hold the mirror back up to the organization. We've done an assessment. This is what we found.
Yeah.
Here are kind of critical providers or critical supply chain partners, and where we think we have some work to do to shore that up.
And one of the things is that there is no single person who knows the entire organization and what is happening in the organization.
Yeah.
Whereas with the AI, we can contextualize and we can start interrogating, start asking questions and discovering those.
Yeah, I like to say that risk is a team sport.
Yes.
Right. So no one person or one team can really solve it on their own. It's very clear on the discovery side, you've got to wrap your arms around everybody, pull everybody together, and then we have to agree and align on what the top risks are.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It really requires everybody's involvement. And then getting aligned on, which risks are we going to treat, which are we going to accept, and how are we going to address those risks. Also doesn't work unless you have alignment and sort of consensus across the team.
Yes. Yeah. So
collaboration is key.
I like this one. Risk is a team sport.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. Any last thoughts?
Well, I would, as a parting thought on that last sort of the concept of a team sport, one of the themes of this year's conference at RSA is about community.
Right.
Right. So community and security is important. We don't compete on security. We collaborate. We work together. We have common goals. That's really the right mindset to pursue risk internal to your organizations too. Bring that sort of community first, collaboration first mindset. And one of the things I'm most satisfied about in my role at AuditBoard is I get to work with a tremendous community. It's really great to meet you guys this week, but our customers, our vendors, our partners here at RSA and around the world, we learn so much from our partners. And I would just say, I'm very thankful for that. And I'm thankful to you for inviting me to speak. We just learned so much from the community, and we should just continue to do that and get better. That's the only way that we solve the risk resiliency gap, is if we work together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a big problem. We have to team together in order to solve it. 100%. Thank you so much, River.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.